Hello, I'm Dave Bignell, and welcome to my wee review of LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures. And basically what that means is it covers the films, The Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, and not the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I haven't seen yet, but apparently it's not very good, so that may be why they decided not to include it in. What's first striking about this game is just the combination of efforts. LEGO has got together with LucasArts, that have got together with TT Games, and they've just all combined and made this absolutely incredible game. And also it includes the John Williams soundtrack from all of the films throughout the game. It's the actual film music playing, and it's not just the Indiana Jones theme, it's all of it. It's just brilliant, and it just adds so much to the atmosphere of the game. There are two modes in which to play this game. The first one is story mode, where you're led through the stories of the films and you get hilarious cutscenes like the one playing now, and it's just has brilliant LEGO humour. This game is either one or two players. In story mode, if you play it as one player, you still have another computer-controlled player with you, because there's lots of puzzles in the game that have to be solved with two people. In fact, almost all the puzzles have to be solved with two people, so if you're playing it one player, the second player is controlled by the computer. To be honest, I love playing this in two-player mode because you can both explore it equally and try and solve puzzles together, so that's absolutely excellent. The second way in which to play this is through free play, and what that means is when you've played a certain stage in a film in story mode, free play gets unlocked, and what that is you can go back into that level as any Indiana Jones character in the whole Indiana Jones world that you want, as long as you've either unlocked that character or purchased that character. By playing as different characters in free play, you can access parts of the level that you couldn't in story mode. For instance, if you're playing a short round, you can get into small little holes that you perhaps couldn't in story mode. And each character has a different thing they can bring to it and unlocks different parts of the level. And the great thing with that is there's all sorts of things you can discover in the levels, so you can keep coming back into the level and looking for more things. So in each stage you get treasure that you collect, and if you collect all that you create a nice little artifact. And there's also mailboxes which you can find in the level, and they can get a bit more tricky to find. But basically, if you find a mailbox, it unlocks a cheat in the game that you can access at any point, and these cheats include things like you can double the amount of points you get, you can become invincible, you can unlock even more special little characters, like in one of the levels you can play as Santa Claus, which is good fun. So there's just so much to this game. There's literally hours and hours of gameplay, both in story mode and then when you revisit it as different characters. And certain characters you won't be able to unlock or use until you've completed most of the game. So even when you've reached the very end, you can go right back to the first level and find things that you perhaps didn't find in the first place because you couldn't access them with the characters you have available. It's just perfect. It's absolutely brilliant, and there's so much to this game. The game is basically one giant Lego puzzle, and you can build things, you can dig things up, you can destroy things and find new items. It's just absolutely brilliant. And as well as the John Williams music, as I was talking about throughout the game, the graphics on this are just absolutely brilliant, and they've recreated each part of the film perfectly. Even if you don't know the Indiana Jones films, I think you'd enjoy this game because it's just so well thought out and there's so much to it. You can really have a lot of fun solving these puzzles, and there's quite a few times where you're sort of scratching your head for a long time, and you have to come back to it, and then you come back the next day and you realise how you do it, and there's just so much to it, and it's absolutely brilliant. Each and every level has been thought out meticulously, and the graphics are fantastic. I've put together in the background for you a few of the levels, but to be honest I didn't know which ones to pick because they all look so fantastic, so I'm only showing you like a % of the game. There's so much to it, and there's so many wonderful levels to explore and discover things in. The controls to this game are really good as well. I mean, this has been made also for the Xbox and the PlayStation and other platforms, but they have made it work for the Wii very well. You use the nunchuck joystick controller to move yourself around. The A button on the Wii remote makes you jump. The B button uses a weapon you have or makes you punch or slap if you haven't got a weapon. And the 1 and 2 buttons swap around which character you are in free play mode. My two minor criticisms with this game are that sometimes if you go back in free play and you're looking for mailboxes and treasure, if you do things in the wrong order, and this happens very rarely, but there's a few occasions where this can happen. If you do things in the wrong order, you can't actually pick up the treasure or mailbox, and you don't realise that until hours of just going, well, what have I done wrong? Why isn't that working? And there's been a couple of occasions where that has happened to me, and I've had to look on the internet to find out what I'm doing wrong. And I've realised you've actually just had to start that whole scene in the film again and do it in a certain order. An example of that is there's a level where you have to pull a tractor out of a house and you run over certain bits of garden, and then carrots appear, and when all those carrots appear, you collect treasure. This is just brilliant. This is an example of how good the puzzles are on here. It's just brilliant. But if you destroy a certain thing before taking the tractor out of the house, you can't get the tractor out of the house. This is the weird thing. I went in and I thought, well, why isn't that coming out? And I didn't realise, but I'd actually done it in the wrong order. But there's no way in which you would know that. So you can spend hours just going, what am I doing? But that's the fun of a puzzle game, I suppose. My other criticism, but again, there's not much they could have done about this, is if you're playing in 2-player and you're on a particularly big level, and say like the second player wants to go to the far right of the screen and you quite fancy looking at what's to the left, you can't. You both have to go the same way. There's a certain amount of zooming out that happens if you do go opposite ends of the screen, but basically you have to go where you both have to go together. So that's just, cooperation. The positive points of this game is there's literally hours and hours of gameplay. Even when you reach the end, sometimes if you feel you've completed it all, there might be more to do, and the game actually tells you how much of it you have completed. So, for instance, you can come to the end, you can think, oh, I've done everything, and you've only completed 90% of the game. So then you can go back into levels, find even more things. There's secret levels in here. You can even play as Han Solo from Star Wars in there. Oh, it's just, there's so much to it. And there's, like I said, secret levels. There's all sorts of characters you can unlock. And in Barnet College, which is where you start the game and is where you go to pick which level you want to go on to next, there's even secret things there. So there's hours and hours of things to do. My criticisms again with this are, and this isn't a big thing, but once you've completed it, that's kind of it. Unless you've got bad memory like me, you have to leave it a while before you revisit the game, because it might be quite easy for you to pick up again because you might remember where everything is. But that's a thing with all great puzzle games. Once you've done them, you've probably, you might not be able to revisit the game again. I completed it recently, and I feel a bit sad that I can't go back in and play it from new again. I know most of the places. Although saying that, there are still some things that I'm going, I can't remember what I did there. So, lots of gameplay there. Playing as 60 different characters in the Indiana Jones world is just brilliant. It's just so much fun, and each one have a different item with them or a particular skill that you need to get to certain levels in the game. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. The graphics are superb. The combination of Lego and the films is just so brilliant. I know they started off with the Star Wars Lego games, and it just works so well, and it's so funny. Also, riding on animals and in cars is a lot of fun. It can be quite hard to control, but you can get in, all sorts of different vehicles. You can get on motorbikes, you can ride on horses, elephants, there's all sorts of things like that in there. So there's just so much to this game. This is my most favourite game on the Wii at the moment, and I give it a 10 out of 10. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Wii reviews.